Hi everybody, today I'm talking about tea, which is one of my favorite beverages to make. It's really healthy for you, it has a lot of antioxidants to help your immune system. I'm showing you right now a collection of my loose leaf tea. You can make tea with tea bags or loose leaf. I prefer loose leaf because of the full body of the tea. It's not as processed. The tea bags, you have to get it from a really good quality maker if you use the tea bags, because sometimes the really poor quality, they put a lot of the excess tea, the little sort of leftover pieces, and they put it into the bag, so it's not always the best quality tea. So if you use a tea bag, make sure you get it from a good well-known company that you're familiar with the quality. Okay, so let me show you some of the loose leaf tea that I've put together here. We start with your basic black tea. This particular one is Earl Grey, which is the granddaddy of tea in Great Britain. It's very full body and takes a little bit longer to brew than most tea, and of course it'll have a little bit more of the caffeine. Then we move to a green tea here. This particular one is from Japan. It's a Hojicha. And green tea has less oxidation than black tea, which means it hasn't been exposed to oxygen as much as the black tea. This particular tea here is an herbal tea, and herbal tea really isn't actually a tea. It's just basically a drink similar to tea that's made with herbs or spices. This particular one is peppermint, so it's very organic, which means it totally has no caffeine at all. Here is a white tea. A white tea is the most delicate of all the teas because it's really young. It's picked when it's very, very fresh, within 48 hours after the leaves are blooming. So it's a very young tea, so it hasn't been as processed as much, so it doesn't have as much caffeine. This particular white tea is a silver needle tea. It's really nice and very fragrant. So those are the tea. Basically, I wanted to also show you what you should do about sort of storing them, because that makes your tea last a bit longer. You basically need to store them in tin cans, because that's the best way to keep it fresh. And then you put them in sort of like cold shaded areas like your cupboard. This particular can is this really nice can from the Tao of Tea. I love their canisters because it's really like a smooth sort of metal. Here is one of the tin cans that I've gotten a long time ago. It has this nice sort of dragon design, and I just kind of keep a nice green tea in it. Now when I don't have enough cans, what you can also do is just keep your tea in the tea bag, but put it in a Ziploc bag. That way it stays airtight, and then just put it in your cupboard to make sure that it doesn't have any exposure to light. Now your tea basically can last 1 to 2 years, and then after that it will totally lose its flavor. So you want to make sure you drink your tea so that you can drink it all within 2 years. You don't really necessarily want to age it like wine. It's a kind of thing that you want to take advantage of the flavor when it's freshly picked. Now one of the really important things about brewing a nice cup of tea is making sure you have the right temperature in the water. It needs to be sort of hot water, but not rapidly boiling water. So what I usually do is I try to catch the water as it's boiled right before it gets to a boil. So usually I can look at the tea kettle that I have, and if a little bit of smoke is coming out, then I know it's ready. I don't know if you can really see with this camera and with the definition of the film, so I don't know if you can really tell that a little bit of steam is coming out. So for me, I know the water is ready, so I'm going to go ahead and put it into my pot to start brewing my tea. Now you want to brew your tea in either a porcelain kettle, or right here I have a glass kettle. Don't use any kind of metal to brew your tea. Okay, I'm going to pour and film at the same time, so excuse me as I try to not burn myself. Alright, I'm almost there. You don't need to fill it all the way to the top. Then we cover it. Now to brew tea, the basic instruction is usually 4 to 5 minutes. Actually 3 to 5 minutes they usually say. So what I always end up doing, especially with black tea, is I brew it for 4 minutes. That always seems to work out best. Now for other teas like green tea and especially white tea, it might not take as long. It might take maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes. White tea, definitely just 2 minutes. Maybe 3 minutes for green tea. Black tea always seems to work out nicely for me when it's 4 minutes exactly. So we're going to just let it brew and then we'll be ready to have our tea. Okay, so our tea has been brewing for about 4 minutes, which is good enough to let the full flavor come out. Now, as I was saying, I really love the Bosun teapot that I have to brew the tea because it also has a strainer so that the tea leaves, the loose tea leaves, can be pushed down, and that way I can kind of keep it in this kettle and then serve my tea and not have any loose tea floating in my cup. Now if you don't have this particular brand of teapot and you just have sort of like a regular porcelain teapot, that's fine. All you need to do is sort of make sure you get all the tea leaves not with the tea. So you just sort of get a strainer, put it right over at the neck of your pot that you're going to put your tea in, and then you just sort of pour your tea into the pot. And the strainer will catch any loose leaf, because that's the thing that you really want to make sure is you don't want to get any sort of loose leaf into your tea as you're drinking, because that's not going to be any fun. So I put some tea now in the pot that I'm going to use to serve. Now when you're serving tea without any tea leaves, you want to make sure that it stays warm. That's why some teapots, they'll put a little sort of like a mitt around it. I love this because this particular one has a stand that you can put a candle on, and then the candle will keep your tea warm as you're enjoying it, and you can, so that way you can sort of take your time and really enjoy your tea. So now that we've got our brewed tea that doesn't have any tea leaves in the pot and is being kept warm by the candle, we can now just pour ourselves a nice cup of tea. And just enjoy a nice afternoon with tea. One of my favorite things to do. Now that's a nice cup of tea. So as you can see, it's really easy to make tea for yourself. One of the most enjoyable things I find that you can do in the afternoon. So go out there and make yourself a nice cup of tea and enjoy.